So how have I gone for the first 7 days? Close to 4 pounds. Now, for me, that didn't feel like a lot, but it's pretty material weight loss in 7 days. I want to continue to lose weight. So I thought about it and thought, well, I need to try something new. Enter the carnivore diet. So I'm sure like many of you, I had a great time over Christmas and New Year, as I do every year, as I shared last year, and I managed to break my fasting protocol, my 1 meal a day, and really enjoy myself. And I put on that little bit of holiday weight that you'd be expecting, 3 or 4 pounds. Although I've had great success doing OMAD over 12 months, which you can see in my 365 days on OMAD video, the initial weight that I lost and sustained wasn't as much as I was hoping for. I want to continue to lose weight. So I thought about it and thought, well, I need to try something new. Enter the carnivore diet. Now, I know that this can be considered a bit of a fad diet, and it is sort of an extension of a ketogenic diet or even an Atkins diet, but I've had success personally in the past doing lower carb diets, such as the paleo diet, such as the ketogenic diet, but I have found them difficult to sustain. I think my journey over the last 2 years has taught me that I am strong enough to sustain those sorts of lifestyles. So my first example would be I stuck to my OMAD protocol for over 12 months. So it really changed my attitude towards dieting and eating and sustaining an eating pattern. So that for me says perhaps I can try something a little bit more restrictive and still sustain that for a longer period. The other thing that I did was, it's actually 130 days ago now, so during September last year, I just gave up drinking alcohol. I had a rough night out, and then I decided, well, this is not the kind of lifestyle that I want. I don't want to be waking up hungover anymore. I want to be able to spend time with my kids. I don't think I was over drinking or anything like that, or overindulging, but I certainly was drinking, and it was not really benefiting my life. So I gave up drinking 130 days ago. I also thought that that would result in some weight loss, and it hasn't. But you know what? I've felt a lot better, and I've got more time in my day. So these two things, giving up drinking and going to a fasting protocol, shows me that I'm really good at now at forming habits, particularly having the discipline around my diet, and especially with drinking. I didn't drink on my cruise. I didn't drink at New Year's. I didn't drink at a recent work conference. So it just goes to show you, if you are committed to something and the reasons that you're committed to it for your health, you can make some changes. So I've decided to try and accelerate or prompt a little bit more weight loss to restrict carbohydrates completely from my diet. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is to do a carnivore diet. So the type of carnivore I'm doing is basically any type of meat, including animal fats, but I've also been having cheese as part of my carnivore diet. Now, some people might not say that's traditional carnivore, but I'm really focused on zero carb, and I can't do it without cheese. Let's get this straight. Cheese is life. And I'm not overindulging on cheese. I'm just having some cheese to supplement all the meat that I'm eating. But other than that, I'm not having any carbohydrates, any vegetables, any sugar, any other dairy, no milk, no cream, nothing like that. So here are some examples of what I have been eating. And I started carnivore 7 days ago. So this is day 7. And let me tell you about how it's going. So obviously these are the meals. Originally, I felt like I was going to be too hungry, so I went from 1 meal a day to 2 meals a day. So for the last 7 days, I've been having an 18-hour fast and a 6-hour eating window, which is still a pretty decent amount of fasting for me, and it has allowed me to adapt to eating lower carb, I think, a little bit better, particularly because although protein in the meat is quite dense and satiating, I did want to make sure that I was feeling full so I wouldn't be tempted to eat carbohydrates. Or have those cravings. So I was doing 2 meals a day. Typically my first meal would be some form of meat protein, whether that be tuna or ground beef or chicken, and combining that with scrambled or boiled eggs, usually between 4 and 6 eggs in a meal. I've been eating roughly 9 to 10 eggs a day since starting this eating protocol, and I find them really filling, and I'm actually enjoying eating eggs. The only downside is cooking eggs, so if you want to get ahead of the game, you could probably just boil a bunch of eggs and have those on hand, which is what I did the first few days. And that also gives you an option for snacking, rather than turning to the fridge and looking for something that could be a carbohydrate snack or a processed food. Having boiled eggs on hand is a really good option. So I've been eating a lot of ground beef, like I said, a lot of chicken. I've been just using rotisserie chickens. It's really convenient, and then you can divide it up for several meals. and it's also something that the rest of the family can eat. And I've been eating a lot of ground beef. Now I've been probably cooking about a pound of ground beef at a time and mixing that into, and then having that as my meal combined with either scrambled or fried eggs. And as I said, with the cheese, I've been using a little bit of grated cheese on top of my ground beef, but only about 20 grams, like a not even a half a cup or a quarter of a cup of grated cheese or shredded cheese. And then I've also been snacking on not only boiled eggs, but occasionally I'll snack on the kids' cheese sticks that you put in your school lunches. So how have I gone for the first 7 days? I actually didn't lose as much weight as I thought I would, but I definitely feel a little leaner. Like if I would pinch my flab around my torso and stomach and look in the mirror, I do think I've managed to shed a little bit of water, but that hasn't resulted in much weight loss. In saying that, I have lost around about almost 2 kilograms in a week, which is close to 4 pounds. Now, for me, that didn't feel like a lot, but it's pretty material weight loss in 7 days. And I do probably put that down to mostly water. I haven't felt overly hungry at all. I think it is a very satiating diet. I've been doing the OMAD, like I said, but the other day, which would have been Sunday, about day 6, I actually only did one meal and I felt completely fine. And then later on, I just had a snack of a cheese stick. And I didn't need a second meal. So already my body's starting to tell me, hey, this is enough food. And because I'm not having those insulin spikes from the carbohydrates, I'm not getting the cravings now, which is great. And because I was already experienced faster, I was used to those effects of softening your insulin spikes. But because my last year on OMAD hasn't restricted any carbs, I do think that made me snack more around my eating window, and I haven't had that problem on Carnivore, which is really fantastic. So this is only 7 days. I intend to do this for 90 days. If you've watched my channel before, I never do anything for just 1 week or even 30 days. I always say to people, give something for 90 days. That's how you're really going to know if it's making you feel any better. On symptoms, I was expecting to get the keto flu. I've had it before, but not very severe. And I was expecting some of those brain fog type issues. So in preparation for that, I did go and buy a 6-pack of Gatorade zero sugar bottles just so that I could get those electrolytes in. And I was having one of those per day. And I think that really helped. I haven't had really severe keto flu. The symptoms you would experience typically are fatigue, headaches is what really gets people, and just general lethargy. So I haven't felt any real problems with fatigue, but exercise is probably playing a factor there. I'll get to that in a minute. And I have had very, very minor dull headaches. I woke up this morning with a very dull headache previous 2 days. So day 7 now, I think the ketosis is starting to kick in, and I'm experiencing very dull headache symptoms. I'm not too concerned, and like I said, I've had those electrolytes in the fridge just as a bit of a backup, and they're 0 sugar, 0 calories, so I'm happy to drink them. I don't think it's going to affect my carnivore process. It's just going to help me get through that keto flu, and I'd recommend that to you. No one is a diehard. You don't have to be a diehard to make these sorts of eating protocols work for you if fat loss is your goal. So on exercise, I live in the interior of Canada, in Saskatoon. We got home from our cruise just before I started this diet, and last week it was minus 35 degrees Celsius, which is basically minus 35 degrees Fahrenheit as well. So that is fucking cold. We weren't able to go out and do much exercise at all. My steps, I'll share on screen, have been below 2,000 or 3,000 per day. I work a sedentary job from my desk, so exercise has not been much of an option from home. The other factor, I usually work out in my garage, which is usually heated, but in this extreme cold, the garage heater failed and my garage was minus 15 degrees Celsius, so I couldn't even really go in there to do a workout or ride my spin bike, which is usually how I supplement my walking and my cardio when it's too cold. So that was off the table. So long story short, I managed to lose 4 pounds in a week, purely focused on diet, and I've done no additional exercise. In fact, I've done less exercise than I typically would, which typically I do 5 to 10,000 steps a day minimum and 3 or so workouts a week in the gym. I've done none of that in 7 days, and I've still managed to have some weight loss. I'm going to be reintroducing exercise this week, but I also think not exercising excessively has probably helped curb some of those keto flu type symptoms you might expect, and really forcing that ketosis to commence. So essentially, I've provided my body less stress apart from the diet change and restricted carbohydrates, and haven't combined that with additional metabolic changes such as working out more. So I think that's been a help. It wasn't my intention, but it certainly has curbed some of those symptoms. Anyway, I think I'm going to stick to this, like I said, for 90 days. I'll keep you guys updated. I still want to reinforce I am fasting, and fasting's still part of my life.